city writhes in pain. Diseased. Violent. Lecherous and depraved. Some say it runs thick within the blood. A seeping gloom like a tumor on the soul. Is there a cure for inhumanity? Is administering death the only remedy?
Yeah, we got here the two guys from Don't Not and the new game Vampyr, which was already announced, but now finally a proper presentation. What is obviously it's a game about vampires, and we are in London. But what is the background for Vampyr?
Historically, the background is to choose a time where the situation for mankind was quite difficult. So we decided to pick up the end of the First World War, because since you know it was the first industrial war with millions of dead. And just after that, historically, the Spanish flu epidemic came onto the humans and made about, I guess now they speak about something like 50 million dead. So it was a very difficult time. And let's say that when mankind is facing very troubled times, vampires tend to exit their coffin, and they take advantage of that.
Okay, and but where do the vampires come from? What is the idea that you include vampire in such a story?
In fact, I guess I can't really answer this question, since this will be part of the investigation for the hero. But let's say that since he's a specialist of blood transfusion technique, a very new technique he created during the war, and that he has been turned by a mysterious vampire into a creature of the night, I guess you could say there is something linking these two information.
Okay, and this is a game. It's a lot of decisions and consequences. And why? What kind of decisions do we have to make? You will have two levels of decisions to do in the game. On the background, on the high-level storyline, you will have to face some decision as a vampire and as a doctor. The hero is still a doctor who tries to save lives, but he's also a vampire who has to kill sometimes. So you will have to take decisions that will impact the storyline at regular moments throughout the games. On another level, each time you speak with a citizen, you can decide to kill him or to spare him. That's another layer of decision, but all of them will create the end of the game, in fact. All the consequences will be mixed to propose to the player what will be the end of Jonathan's fate. Okay, so but I can also decide to kill just everyone to get stronger myself.
Yes, you can kill everyone to get stronger quickly. You can also decide to kill no one if you want. We want the players to really choose what to do. They have the ability to take lives, to become more aggressive and more dangerous, and it will be easier for them to fight the other vampire they will meet. But if you want to play a humanist vampire who tries to stay on the good side of damnation, I would say, it's up to you, really.
So can I get stronger without killing anyone?
You will get a few experience points, and you can have you can get a little bit stronger. But really, as a vampire, you are compelled to take life. So this is the hardest path. But you can have this freedom if you want. Yes, not to kill anyone.
Okay, and this game has also got a special art style where looks like there's a grain filter on it. Is it? What was the inspiration for this kind of game? Is it more like from kind of movies, maybe?
Well, We are taking advantage of everything Unreal Editor 4 has to offer with the physically based rendering. We are really shooting for a realistic kind of rendering, but with a slight impressionistic twist. We are looking at a kind of a chiseled reality. We will have characters at a certain distance they will look perfectly realistic, but when you get closer you will see they are sculpted, very reminiscent of the paintings and a kind of dark figures in a Phil Hale painting. Phil Hale, okay. The fog will be a major player. London, the night, so those are our major influences.
What I felt when looking at this was at least there was a lot of tension because it was the fog and all these grain and also the music. It was. Is it what you want to reach that you got this tension the whole time?
Yes, we want the player to feel like the world is putting some pressure on him. Everything is like a permanent vignette, but not just in terms of the image. The music is kind of drony and dissonant. Everything seems out of place because now you're out of place in this world, and you have to find a way either to make the world your place or fit again.
I guess it's not an apocalyptic world, but it's a melancholic world. Yes.
Okay, and this game is parted in different districts. So and you got hub worlds. Why did you decide to split it up and not make an open world?
First of all, because we don't have too much time to create the game. So, as you must know, totally open world takes a lot of resources, a lot of assets. We don't have that freedom when we are creating the world. Also, since Dontnod is always trying to propose a game with strong narrative values, it's easier for us to control the storyline if we can keep the player in parts of the city, and then we unlock these places when we want it. Yes.
With the importance of the storyline in the game, a fully open world would have created much waste. You are free to roam in all the interconnected hubs, but there's a level of polish that we can bring to this middle ground solution.
You think that that the strong to have a strong narrative, it's necessary to have this scripted way of telling the story and to have these districts, or do you think that you can have a strong story in an open world as well?
I think the more I read about this subject, the more I'm convinced that the more you create an open world, the less the storyline will be important for the player. For example, I really like games like Skyrim, but really there is so much things to do that your main quest is just really a secondary quest. Finally, the most important thing is what you will do in this world. Dontnod likes to create strong characters with strong fates and destinies, and to control that we have to a few times guide the player throughout a process of discovering things. So there is freedom of movement, and there is freedom to go where you want in the game we created, but you cannot go freely wherever you want. There are some parts of the game that will be unlocked only when we want it. Yes.
And one way to give the player freedom is with the abilities he have. What kind of abilities will we have in Vampyr?
Oh, I guess it's too soon now to reveal all the abilities the hero will have, but you saw a few of them in the demo. I guess they are classical vampires' powers. You can mesmerize, you can hypnotize creatures, you can force humans to do what you want them to do for a short time. You can use the shadows to hide in them. You have supernatural strength. You can jump very high grounds. That's the kind of power you have as a vampire. And of course, you're immortal as long as you drink blood.
And can I expect? Is it more like action, or is it more like stealth, or does it depend on what kind of abilities I have?
There will not be a real infiltration or stealth mode in the game. You still acting. Jonathan Reed is still playing as a doctor. He has social relation, and he has to act like he's still a doctor. So he can't freely go in the street and kill anyone. So the player will have the freedom to kill who he wants, but he will always have to find discreet places to do so. That's the little condition we add to the challenge. But he can freely kill anyone in the game, but he will have really to wait for the good timing for that.
Okay, and that's the part where I need to be stealthy.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the stealth part of the game is forced by the gameplay. There is no stealth icon. You can kill or you can't kill. There is just a yes or no information for the player.
But what will happen when I kill someone on the street?
If you kill someone in the street, you have been forced to kill him or her in a dark place of the city, of the streets, and the corpse will have to be found at one point in the game. That's obligatory, that's mandatory, but it will happen later, and that's only when the district will react to this murder. You have a few minutes, or perhaps more than that, without people noticing that the body has been found. And then the consequences will be added in the game's world, and you will have, as a player, to face all of them.
Just to sum up, there will definitely not be cases like in Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell where you can get caught and you have to run and there are guards. The game is much more about the action in the combat. You have to hide to kill someone, but it's a completely different level of interaction. It's not infiltration.
So I try to find those people and kill them, or to leave them. But if I kill them, are there other vampires in the game, and do I fight them as well?
Yes. You will meet a lot of supernatural creatures, different species of vampires, sometimes very old vampires, ancient vampires who have hidden agendas or political agendas, who have plans for Great Britain. Each time you will have to fight against a creature, it will be away from the places where the citizen lives. So you will not be witnesses, as there will be no witnesses of the fight you do. That will happen in the most hostile and secluded areas of the game. So you can always you can be assured that you can always act as the good doctor and fight only when no one will see you.
Okay. And are there bigger monsters as well, or are there more just vampires?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Are there bigger monsters as well? Are there big boss fights, like something like that?
Yes, we have developed a large bestiary with creatures ranging from human trying to resist and fight, hunt the vampires to all different species of vampire. There will be ancient, large and vampire bosses, all with different and specific combat techniques and way to approach the fights with them.
And I have a question: what kind of vampire movie is your favorite?
Pick two, and I pick two.
Interview with the Vampire, that's one. And the second one, favorite, we have seen so many of them.
I would say Byzantium, with a very recent vampire movie. A very interesting one because they created the idea that only men can be vampire, and when a woman is created a vampire, she is hunted and killed by the other vampire. I really like this idea of old machist vampires who refuse female to have this right. Even in immortality, they are still sexist. And another movie would be, I guess, Nosferatu. It's a movie from the 70s that I really like.
Vampire for which platform is Vampire planned, and when it's coming out?
It will be released next year. It will be for PC, Xbox, and PS4.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Cast be the choice.